I know you want to control this. I know you want to control this room. But this isn't Burger King. When the sign changes to Burger King, you can have it your way. Right now, this is my courtroom, and you will answer my questions. Stop. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? Yes or no?
Hey everyone. Hey S. Hockett. Hey Missy K. Hey Sally Ann, LMP. Whew, what a night. So I guess those gummies affected Jamie a little, what do you call it? A little more hard than we thought. So when Jamie threw me off, I was like laughing, you know, it's like I didn't even realize that I was trying to make a joke, and part of the joke was sharing my Cash App. I got thrown off. So if I offended Jamie with that, I'm sorry. All right. But I originally went up there because Paul got up there and said some things that we don't say around here. He said the R word. Hey, Shay. So he said the R word. And when you say that, you don't know who's in chat that may have a disabled child and who that will offend. And Jamie is already under attack. Okay? Jamie is already fighting to keep up a channel. And I found that it's not rocket science. Now, if someone went up, now people have gone up on Jamie's panel before and used the N-word. I remember, what's his name? Angel Munoz. Everyone remembers that piece of shit. He used to go up on panel. He used to say the R word, the N word, any other racial slur that slipped his tongue. He used to say the F word. For people like me, he used to go around and peen bomb. He used to take off his clothes. Now that's disrespectful, all right? Now, I am going to say this, all right? We were saying in chat, all right, the topic was Eli. We all know he's a low cow. All right? We all know how he is. He has no self-awareness. He sits there and blames us for him not being very successful. All right. But I'm going to point this out. I make more money than he does. Eli does. I get more watch time than Eli does. Hey, I'm in here 2 years and I got more watch time than Eli got in 5. All right. So if you want to measure or compare success to that, so be it. Now I'm not here to sit. My point wasn't to sit there and drag Paul tonight. All right. I just thought that what he said put Jamie at risk. Because I know it's pain in the butt when you lose your channel constantly. You pick up the pieces and rebuild. I kind of we kind of get it at this point where it's a monthly or bi-monthly thing when his channel goes down. But you don't have to give them over there a reason. Oh, here we go. We could click this for this. All right. Now, we were making comments in chat earlier, and we did say, a few of us said, that Dawn looked like she got out of a concentration camp. She does. She looks unhealthy. She looks like she's hungry. That's how she looks. She looks like those videos in 1945 when the survivors got out of those concentration camps, and that is sad. Okay? And that is sad. All right? So, Eli had a bunch of things to say tonight, so we're going to yeah, she does look so ill, LNP. And I hope she gets better. But with a know-it-all like Eli, it's like hope for the best, prepare for the worst type of scenario. So and to answer the question, I don't hate Paul. All right. I just wanted to sit there, and Mimi was actually right. All right. Mimi was right tonight to say that it was disrespectful what Paul did. And then he decides to get back up and scream at me. All right. Now, I wasn't going to sit there and take it personally. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and yell at you, Paul. I'm not going to scream Paul, 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 Paul like Eli does. We all can agree that Eli is a loco. Eli sits there and, for no lack of a better term, is going through one of his rages right now. So I'm going to get to the other part. All right. So we're going to go so we're going to take a look at Eli's community posts and go through them. All right. This was over at Jamie was going in between. So here we go. Paul is on Lycan's panel saying the best thing that could happen to me is get beaten down until I'm almost dead. If you still want to remain part of this group where they wish harm upon people, you've got more issues than I initially thought. Now, that's the other issue I had. I was like, when Paul got up there tonight, I was like, are you kidding? Did you just say that you want to beat Eli up? Now, I don't like the dude either. All right. But can we say something that doesn't involve making threats to people? Now that's disrespectful. All right, to Jamie. Now, I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend I'm innocent of anything. Yes, I do crack jokes, and yes, I can be pretty mean sometimes. All right. But I don't sit there and make threats or say I want to beat someone up till they're almost dead. Okay, that's when you go into illegal act. That's when it gets to being illegal. All right. So that wasn't the only reason why I went up tonight with Paul about Paul. This was the first reason, and then he went up and said the R word. All right, that was strike two. Okay, so I just wanted to so Coach Eli wants to put this out there and sit there and blame Jamie, where Jamie said none of it. He even said he had disagreed with Paul on those points. So there's that for you. So don't put us in that same category, Eli. So here he goes. Now she goes after Lindsay. He goes after Lindsay. So she said, that's a DeLorean. You continue to run your mouth about many innocent others to a group of the biggest losers on YouTube. Additionally, they answer this question straight up. I'll know you're full of it. Do you think it's right for Jamie to buy a $4.99 membership on my channel and then rebroadcast my members only content publicly on Rumble? Let's see how honest you are. Now, I was there the other day over on Rumble. We were switching between platforms. And Eli, go shove it. All right. So what? Jamie bought a $4.99 membership so we could restream your fucking ass. And the patheticness of your argument so Lindsay doesn't make decisions for Jamie. Jamie does what the fuck he wants to do when he wants to do it. All right. So that here's the know-it-all. So here's Eli again going at Jason. Dude, why do you care about my family estate so much? Is it because your family has nothing to leave you? Again, you like Legion losers are pathetic, and soon your group won't even exist. What are you threatening now, Eli? You gonna report us? You already threatened to sue Rumble. That won't go very well, will it? You threatened to sue StreamYard before. That will go real well. right? When there is plenty of other alternatives. I've used over 3. I tried 3 other alternatives besides StreamYard. So you're going to have to sue a lot of people, Eli. Not just Rumble. There's Kick. There's Twitch. There's all these other platforms people can go to now. YouTube is not a monopoly as it used to be. So let me just go here and so here's Jason saying, Eli, I will laugh when your brother inherits the entire estate. And I do hope your brother gets the entire estate, Eli, because you refuse to get the mental help that you desperately need. And then you call everyone else mentally ill. So you believe that me and James should just work on our bromance? I wish you two the best. When are you two going to meet up together? I don't owe you a damn thing. I don't owe you an explanation on anything. Get out. Okay? Thank you, Missy K. So here we go. Coach Eli says these Legion losers just can't do a full show without talking about me. They are truly the most pathetic group of people on YouTube. Also, the legal fund he's trying to create is just another grift. I've been a little under the weather for the last day, so I'll be back soon with more. Under the weather? No, Eli. Stop lying to people. We all know Dawn's sick. So you're probably just running around, taking care of Dawn. You don't have to sit there and be a liar to everyone. We know what's going on. We can see it with our own 2 eyes. So, Coach Eli decides to sit there and say that we're losing people left and right. Really? How many people have you lost over the years, Eli? There's so many. We've lost count of them all. It probably take a 5, 6, or 7 pages, typed pages of people, and we still probably wouldn't have them all. So we're gonna go to the last community post on this channel. So she's saying James is starting to get very, very, very triggered. Let's see if he can contain his emotions after today. But you're the one, Eli, that is sitting there screaming and yelling at him. So why should we even care? So if he was triggered, hypothetically speaking, I wouldn't blame him one bit. You stupid fuck. So this guy calls himself a life coach. Really? Look at all these lies. Phone coaching, email coaching, private personal coaching video. Would you want advice from this cuck? Now, I know hey, Rachel. Hey, Navigator. Hey, so Eli. So you decide to go out of your way and diss me today. Do you think I cared? I actually wanted you to mention my name. And I'd like to thank you for the advertising, because I couldn't have done it without some of these locals in this community to grow my channel. Thank you so much, Eli. I look forward to the new subs that I get. Okay? So hey, no bog. Hey. So I wanted to just say the few things that was going on. So we're just gonna go down some of the things that are going on in the news and everything that have been going in my YouTube feed. For a few minutes, and so all right, let's start. All right. So apparently they found the first signs of life elsewhere outside our solar system. They did analysis of, they were looking for artificial light sources through the new Webb telescope, and they found what appeared to be artificial lighting in Alpha Centauri. So apparently there might be a planet that's inhabited 4 light years away. Now, what scientists can't figure out is what the how big that planet is, or what the environment is for it. Because these telescopes, I said on a previous live a while back, was that okay, let me just explain how the Hubble Space Telescope worked. So when they looked for exoplanets like outside our solar system, hey Cranky. So when they look for exoplanets like outside our solar system, they can't really see the planets per se. They have to what they look for is like a shadow or a dip in the so they know a planet's there. Hey Jason. So they look for the dots in front of a star. They look for it's like the size of the planet looks like it's size of a dot actually, and they can only estimate the size, but they can't actually see anything through the lens, if that makes sense to everyone. They use a process which is they take a planet goes around the sun, the star, and they're using the gravity to figure out how big it is, and then they use a what is it called, spectrometer, to see what gases are on it. But since Alpha Centauri is close enough that and the Webb telescope's a little more advanced, they're able to look for what they consider artificial lights. So if a bunch of people had like lights on in a city or something, yeah, it could be anything, but usually natural light sources would be differentiated from anything artificial. So if we have lamps with light bulbs. We have lamps with light bulbs. We have electrical sockets. Yeah, Robbie, we found they found through Webb, through a reading in the Alpha Centauri system, they found what appears to be artificial lights detected on one of the planets. Yeah, it is awesome, isn't it? But here's the thing. I don't think that the telescopes can exactly say how far away from a star it is. They can only estimate because it's a telescope, for fuck's sakes, you know? We only have so many instruments on it. Okay, Lonnie, thank you for coming. So they found artificial lights, which means like if you turn on your lights on in an apartment building or your home at nighttime, and you know how it lights up the night sky. Like if you look from the International Space Station and you take a picture, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for unnatural light sources. Now, natural light sources, maybe like from a moon or from the star itself, or from natural phenomena such as pulsars and different things like that. But they could tell the difference between natural light and what's artificially made through technology, apparently. So, one of the planets in the Alpha Centauri system appears at night. They have the technology for electricity, and they're detecting artificial light. So that I watched that video. It's on YouTube. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know we can do that. Okay, LMP, good night, or good morning, or whatever. And I'll see you next time. And so I guess we're actually not alone. If that's actually an accurate report, but I guess it's going to go up for further study to see. We can't actually make it to that system quite yet. Well, it's the closest star system to Earth. At the speed of light, it's going to take us 4 years. It would take us 4 years to get there at the speed of light. So, since we can't travel at that speed, yeah, Barbara, you're absolutely right. Every society throughout history has talked about encounters. Every society throughout history has talked about it. So this is something, this kind of corroborates those societies that say, okay, we got visitors. Now, another video I watched, okay, so in the 1800s, 1700s, there were different maps of our solar system. Okay, I would think, oh, okay, Barbara. I do buy the some of these I do buy some of these ancient alien theories, some of them. And so let me talk about Alpha Centauri for a second before I get into that, actually. Alpha Centauri is a newer colony, apparently. This is from the paranormal community. And they were the original inhabitants of Venus. They were the original Venetian civilization, and they left Venus because another planet in our solar system caused this one to go AWOL, as I'd call it. And they had the technology to know it was coming. It was like, they had the technology to know that the planet blew up and some of the debris was heading. Oh, hey, blue skies. So they knew, the Venetians knew that these asteroids were coming towards Venus. They got in their spaceships and they went to Alpha Centauri. The good majority of them did. So that's where they came from. And there was another video I watched on here where they were showing old maps of our solar system. Some might think that some of these old maps, yet outdated. We didn't find each and every planet in our solar system right away. So you'd have maybe 4, 5, 6 planets on a list. But this is some of the maps that were drawn back then didn't seem to match up. Okay. Now, that planet I was talking about that blew up is where the asteroid belt was. So the asteroid belt's what's left. It's like some of what's left. Yeah, it's Barbara, it's all over the place, that planet. It's most of it's in the asteroid belt, some of it's in the Kuiper belt. Some of it was caught as Jupiter moons, some of Jupiter's moons, some of Saturn's moons. It went all over the place. And some of the asteroids that from that destroyed planet flew forward and hit Venus. Now, Venus used to go in the opposite direction than it does today. Now, a big, huge asteroid hit Venus and caused an extinction event because it was like on a direct path. Now, Earth was spared most of the damage and Mars, because it wasn't on a direct path, those, the orbits. And Mars wasn't inhabitable at the time that happened. Yes, the Sumerians did write about it. And the Sumerians did keep a record that there was a planet where the asteroid belt is. They recorded it. So they have some of these maps that don't seem to match up to what our solar system is today. Now, I found those in the video pretty strange because they had a planet after Mercury. And I'm like, okay, a planet after Mercury? How can they see this? I think it would be like too close to the sun or something. So if a planet was too close to Mercury, closer, it could have went off orbit. And so I found those videos pretty interesting. So yeah, so we did find life. Yeah, Mercury is closest to the sun. as far as we know. Mercury is the closest to the sun. Then comes Venus, and then Earth, and then Mars, and then the asteroid belt. But there are some objects in space that aren't classified as planets or moons. Probably because they're too small. Okay, Barbara. I'm going to answer your question, actually. So, Nibiru is not part. So, do you know what happened? Do you remember hearing where Nibiru came from, Barbara? So Nibiru was originally part of the Sirius system. So you'll see Sirius is big in the sky. Sirius is and what happened to Nibiru was its star died. I don't know what happened. I think it exploded for some odd reason. Yeah, so some of what they say is caught on video, but this was so long ago, Barbara, that it wasn't caught. It would be impossible to catch on video. But the Sirius system, we have Sirius A and B. Okay, this was confirmed by Hubble telescope. This is what we know for sure. All right, Barbara. We could see the star because it has light. So apparently, there was a Sirius C at one point. So Sirius was a triple star system. All right. And Nibiru was one of the planets that orbited Sirius C. Now, Nibiru didn't last too long, so to speak, because Sirius C died. We're not sure if it exploded or it just went into a brown dwarf. But once the once the star was gone, it was sort of ejected out of orbit and took a new one. And maybe it's what we call that 3,600 year elliptical orbit that we're talking about here. So Sirius is 8 light years from Earth. Hey, Shelley. Yeah, I assumed when I was reading some of those books on Barbara that the Nibiru came from like Alpha Centauri or something. But no, it came from Sirius. Actually, according to the paranormal community. And they caused, when they got here, a lot of damage, per se. Yeah, what's written in the Yeah, what's written in the Sumerian texts, Barbara, is not everything. They don't have everything that was ever, because the Sumerian texts are actually descended from the Atlantean text, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been found or sort of, Barbara. It's part of the solar system, but it's not. So how would Nibiru be part of our solar system and it's not? It's on an elliptical orbit, which means that it goes around a few stars. And it has such a long orbital period. So it's like, okay, take two stars, like, okay, from here to Sirius, and they go, and it goes around our star and that star, or one of those stars. When Cyrus C went kaput, there was nothing to keep these planets in order. Now, there's another Barbara, there's another texts that claim that our solar system, yeah, I'd view it more as a comet right now because there's no life currently on Nibiru. It's gone. I don't know exactly where it would be. You know what I mean? Okay. So, Barbara, I heard this on a few paranormal shows and a website from a woman who gives archaic record readings. And a few people, I also look at past life readings too for info. I'm very outside the box this way. And then I check it against what we know is in existence. For example, if they describe a star, right, like in a past life reading, and we could see it in the sky, and the system is exactly like it is. Vegas, Indian Vegas. No, I haven't actually. So I read. So there was a past life reading, Barbara, of Vetus. Okay, all right, Barbara. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. So let me. How do I say this? Many people on this planet originated from either this solar system or the Pleiades. So a lot of Native American groups came from the Pleiades. I think a few other groups came from the Pleiades. The Seven Sisters has lots and lots of inhabited planets. All right. We just can't see them with our telescopes yet. So there's a few people that published past life readings, okay, from the Atlantis days, the end days of Atlantis. And I found those really interesting, Barbara. Oh, yes. There are countless planets out there with life, and there's no rules, really, on what you'll find out there. You'd be surprised at how many times these planets seem to, once we get out there, really get out there, that they'll say, okay, this planet is too cold. Should be too cold and shouldn't have life. Actually, we're not, Barbara. We're not a very young species. We're actually pretty old. It's just that our DNA was changed back in the day. If that makes sense. So let me tell the story of the DNA change. So when Atlantis, the days before Atlantis sunk, there was a program which was a penal colony. Earth first started 1 million years ago as a penal colony. All right. So they sent their prisoners here. Some groups died out due to this disease. Some groups flourished. And it wasn't until Nibiru they had the Nibiru was Atlantis. All right. They were the original people from that who founded Atlantis. So Nibiru, the people from Nibiru, first settled in the Mesopotamia area between the Tigris and Euphrates. And then there was a split. There was like a disagreement on what to do with the natives on this planet. Okay, some viewed them as commodities. And then another side viewed them as equals. So practically there's a split. So one side stayed in Mesopotamia. The other side went to what the Atlantic Ocean, which was known as Atlantis. And the language of Mesopotamia, one of the languages, according to the past life regression, was cuneiform. They had 3 languages. One was cuneiform, one was the ancient Egyptian. One was ancient Egyptian, by the way. So the ancient Egyptian language was one of the languages spoken. Because Atlantis was originally founded by the people of Nibiru. But there were a few other groups that lived there too. So there were 3 languages. There was the ancient Egyptian language, written language, and then there was Phoenician. So there were 3. And a lot of these languages that we have today were descended from them. Tiamat doesn't sound familiar, Barbara. The planet that was in our solar system that got destroyed was known as Malona, Maldek, Phaeton. I'm going to have to look up Tiamat. It might be another name for it, but depending on what language you're speaking, but yeah, but some of these a few of these past life regressions from the last days of Atlantis were actually pretty good, and these stories seem to correspond with some of these mediums or whoever are saying. So what happened to our planet was, back in those days, we were like high technology. And then suddenly what some of our archaeologists are doing is saying, that don't make sense. How can we digress or devolve from high technology to none? Now, yeah, Barbara, you have to sit there and go by both. Sometimes the written history is taken out of context and you don't get the whole, not everything has been found. So we're only working with the written historical history, because not everything's there. Because I'm sure underneath those desert sands in Egypt, there's the other piece of the puzzle. Yeah, they've been suppressing history, Underneath the desert sands in Egypt, probably other places. Yeah, but here's what happened. So Atlantis sunk, all right? And it kind of turned this planet upside down for a little while. It was like, at that time, it was like, who's in charge? Right, we have all these people on these continents. They were like fighting. Who's in charge? No, I am. South America's in charge. No, Europe's in charge. Yes, I have. And Sitchin is pretty good, but he was also wrong on some things too. Because with cuneiform, because it's an old language, Barbara, the problem is we don't have a dictionary. The problem is we don't have dictionaries to those old languages. The only thing we got is Rosetta Stones. So this symbol means this in another language, and this in Greek. So what happened is, so they do the best they can in the translation, Barbara, but they don't have a dictionary to show, okay, this is how you put a sentence into context. Yeah, absolutely, Barbara. Absolutely. The Atlantean language isn't used anymore. Some of these languages are not used anymore, and we don't have a damn dictionary. We just had what they found in Egypt was actually with hieroglyphs was a Rosetta Stone in demonic, hieroglyphs, and Greek. So all we could do is say, okay, this symbol means this hieroglyph means this and that. Yeah, we don't have a damn dictionary. Same thing with Egyptian. Same thing with India. We don't have dictionaries. I think the only language that we actually have a dictionary for, Barbara, is Greek. To be honest with you. And some of these symbols have or some of these words have different two different meanings depending on where in the sentence it is, or so we're reading these walls of these temples and we're doing the best we can with history. But then we sit there and yeah. Like in Spanish class, I forgot most of my Spanish because I don't use it. But I learned that the one thing I took from Spanish class, all right, was my Spanish teacher said there is no word in the Spanish language for like. There's no word. The closest word you get in Spanish is to find something pleasing. So you got that issue too. You got the language barrier where there's no word for something in a language, so they use the closest word to it. So then you got all these missing pieces, and you look for secondary sources too, like past life regression, which is a good one because a lot of people have lived lives in Egypt back in the day with the Great Pyramid. And such. So, and the Great Pyramid of Giza was, that whole complex had like multiple uses. It powered up. So the theory, the modern theory or whatever, that it was a power station is correct. But that's not why they built it. It was a power source. Yes. But what were they powering? They were powering a Stargate. They were powering a Stargate. Or some technology underneath the ground that allowed interstellar travel. Now, what happened? Yeah, it's energy without wires. It's a simple technology, but it's also beyond some of our understanding. They didn't kill Tesla. That's a different story. Ooh. he disappeared. Let's just put it that way. It's a long story, but Tesla was, yeah, it's, how do I say it? Maybe it's not beyond our understanding, Barbara. We're not the brightest of people. So after Atlantis sunk, there was power grab. Who's going to be in charge? And it was like a planet. It was like a world war broke out. So this is where some of the stories in the Bible come in with Abraham. So Abraham was actually what you call, I don't know what to call him. I don't know whether to call him a terrorist or a freedom fighter. But he fought during that war. He was like the folk hero for the commoner. Let's just put it that way, while these governments were fighting for control. Thank you, Sabrina. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. It was a world war, and nobody won it. Nobody won. It was like one of these wars where nobody won anything. No one won power. No one won dominance over anybody. It was like a stalemate. So it was like, hey, Janie. So what they did was, it was the biggest disarmament in history. So because nobody really trusted one another, they had to give up their technology. And then the technology that they did keep, such as, oh, that's a good question, Barbara. Let me get to it in a second. So they had to give up their weapons, and they had some of their inventions, some of the non-lethal technology, such as lights, became more, over time, more economically infeasible because it was in the hands of the rich. If that makes sense. It became economic warfare. Like, okay, look up the Baghdad battery. Now, the Baghdad battery was you put vinegar or an acid in a jar, and then you put a rod in, and it's like a lamp. But over time, only the nobility and the royals and the high priests could even afford one of those. I think it had to do with the light bulbs they produced. So what did the majority of the population use? The oil was dirt cheap. So this is why archaeologists are finding oil lamps everywhere. And not finding too many of those Baghdad batteries. And Okay. Antarctica. Let's just get to that, you know. So Antarctica is actually part of Atlantis. It's part of it. So what happened with Atlantis was a polar shift about 13, 15,000 years ago. And they made it worse, 10 times worse with this weapon they had. They tried to control it. And Atlantean society got out of control. They abused everything. So we're talking about everything, Janie, from Atlantis to different things, you know, like. So what happened was there was a polar shift. Part of Atlantis went under. And then a good part of the plate where Antarctica is. So part of the Antarctic continent that was up in the Atlantic broke apart and went way south. So there's this map that there's copies of these maps that show Antarctica without ice. It's in my description, honey. Yeah, yep, that's it. It's not how it's spelled, but you get it. Priest Reese or whatever. The Priest Reese map, yeah. So they have a map that's been reproduced a lot of times, and it shows Antarctica without any ice. Yeah. So there are parts of the Antarctic continent that were part of Atlantis. Part of the continent is still underwater by the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. It's split because what a polar shift or pole reversal does is it raises some land masses and sinks them. But since Atlantis they had this technology and they abused it, it was like 10 times worse. And the ice caps melted. It was like the ice age was over overnight on this planet. Yeah. Barbara. The Bimini Road was part of it. Cuba was part of it. Bermuda. Only the high parts of the islands survived the ice melt. And Atlantis went down overnight. It went down overnight. It was like earthquakes. Thank you, Janie, for the $10. I appreciate it. Let's give you a clip.
What? Members of the jury, this completes your service.
You call that service?
Ms. Gamble.
What are you, moron?
Miss Gamble.
What do you like, the color of Mr. Donald's tie?
Miss Gamble.
I don't care, Judge. That's it. That's it. This is what happens when you get 12 people too stupid to get out of jury duty. You end up with a bunch of unemployed, brain-dead idiots. Tell me, what would it take here? They'd have to staff the guy 8 times?
One more word.
Come on, raise your hand. Which one of you retards voted not guilty?
Ah, there we go. There's a funny for you. Yeah, this is an absolute topic I love. Yeah, I use the paranormal community because they can dig out clues too. Including the written record. Yeah, Janie, the Mesopotamians have records of this, of some of this. The Egyptians have records, but they're underneath the sands of Egypt. Some of them are underneath the sands of Egypt, or they're in some of the buildings. It's a strange technology that they had back then. Way back on 15,000 years, they were high technology. And because they had a war, they had to get rid of all their weapons. They had to get rid of all the dangerous technology on this planet. And we slowly digressed into a horse and buggy culture. Yeah. That's an Edgar Casey thing, and I tend to agree with it. And one's underneath the pyramids, and I was given directions to it by one of my paranormal friends. But here's the thing, Barbara. All right. Here's the funny thing about Egypt. They got so many restrictions on what they can do there. Yes, Barbara. Sort of. Sort of. So the Egyptians were masters of deception and mirages. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna say this about the Egyptians. When they wanted to hide something, they hid it in plain view. Okay, Barbara. So when you go into the you go down that hallway or whatever, which anyone can go down. It's open to the public, actually. And you go into the main pyramid. You know, one of those tunnels underneath. When you go, at one point, there was at one time in history, there was a staircase. I think it might be where the paw of the Sphinx is. Yeah, something like that. The Grand Gallery or something. It's before the Grand Gallery. It's not even in the pyramid. It's underneath. It's the tunnel system, Barbara. This is what they don't get. A lot of this stuff was accessed through the tunnel system. So you go through the tunnel, one of the tunnels underneath, which Zahi Hawass knows all about. But then you make a left. Right? And then there's a staircase that goes even further down. Okay, that's one way you can get there. All right, to the Hall of Records. Then there's a second way. Did you ever hear of the Temple of Isis, Barbara? Did you ever see that on YouTube? Remember they have that the water underneath there, and there's like this casket or sarcophagus underneath the water. Yep. That's the other end of the entrance, Barbara. But since the Egyptian government doesn't want any work done, they can't even clean the place up. Yep. Why would they have a literal lake of mercury? What would a purpose like that be? And then there's another temple which is full of water, and you can take a boat around, and it's actually pretty closed off. It's pretty closed off, actually, because there's one video on YouTube where they got special permission to go on a boat down there, and it looks pretty trashed to me. It looked like it looked like earthquakes, or the Egyptians built something. The ancient Egyptians built like a wall through it. But there's a entranceway there that even Zahi Hawass can't find. You know? The Egyptians were good at tricking potential invaders. So if they wanted to close up the records, the Hall of Records, they could build a wall in a doorway and make it look like the surrounding area. They were masters at that. It's not because they're Muslim, Barbara. I don't think it's because they're Muslim. I think it's because, one, the Egyptian government doesn't have the resources or the funding. That is true, Barbara. They do that. But at the same time, they knew what the ancient Egyptians were. Don't they? They knew it was a pagan religion, for fuck's sakes. They know they believed in many gods, which were actually their ancestors. They worshiped their ancestors, or what you call who these gods were. They seeded civilization from the stars, so they gave them reverence. The whole Egyptian religion is misunderstood. We just have fragments from temple walls. But the Egyptian government knows what they believed in. All right, it's not like it's gonna like if they found statues of gods down there, they're not going to suppress that. The issue is the Egyptian government doesn't give the Antiquities Department enough funding each year. So what do? They don't hire enough people. They don't have the funding to show tourists everything. So what do? They block off places that are potentially dangerous without a guide, so they don't get sued, because they're liable for anyone getting hurt in one of those tunnels down there below the pyramids. Yeah, but okay, Barbara, let me put it this way so you understand it. So if they found it depends on what they find, Barbara. You know, if they can't read the walls, correct? If there are hieroglyphs that they can't decipher, they don't even know what they're hiding, because the hieroglyphs were too old. I said, what does this mean? This is these 15, 20 glyphs weren't used, correct? Or something. That this is an older dialect of the Egyptian language. So it's like, okay, what are they actually hiding? You know? Yeah, they would hide that, I think, Barbara. If they find a mummy that's not completely human, yeah, they would hide that. Because the Egyptians, they had this attitude over in Egypt and part of the Middle East that no extraterrestrial technology or advanced technology couldn't have built the pyramids. Their ancestors were smart enough to do it on their own. And they think it would be a slap in the face if they found out or let the truth out that they had help building these beautiful monuments. Paracas skulls? Oh, yeah, they never hid that. Never hid the Paracas skulls. They tried to hide. The other ones in Peru were a hoax. The DNA proved it. The ones in Peru that look strange, the mummies. So the Peru incident, they had mummies that looked alien looking. If you really looked at it. But they did DNA tests on them. The ones in Peru, Barbara? The DNA tests I've seen were full human. The Paracas skulls are a separate ones that are elongated. Those have those are not human skulls. Those are not human. The Peru incident was a hoax. They looked a little like aliens, like little gray aliens. It's probably over years of the mummification process. It's a different environment. So they came out of the Plus, Barbara, they can't get the full DNA out of them. We don't have the technology for that. We don't have the technology for full DNA tests. When a result comes out like that, because them and the stars, our ancestors, they have 12 strands of DNA. We only have 2. There's a little quick fact for you. And some of them that are way out there have completely different blood types, incompatible with us. So yeah, you can't count on our governments to tell us the truth on anything. So if we're unsure, if I'm unsure about something I read, yeah, that's where RH negative comes from. And it's not always from that too. So it's a good possibility if it's RH blood, it's from another planet, it's from another human species related to us. It's just there's more than blood types that we find here commonly on Earth. Yeah, they found, I've seen a few DNA tests, ladies, where, okay, get a load of this. I've seen this online. One person had to confide in me. And someone was adopted. All right, I'm going to tell this story. Someone was adopted. So she got her DNA tested, trying to find her birth parents. And half her DNA came back non-human. Interesting, isn't it? So, if you want proof that we're not alone, look at the DNA results, too. So, we have DNA results. We have artificial lights in the next star system. The evidence is piling up. It's just, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with the Hubble telescope. There's nothing wrong with the Webb telescope. There's something wrong with our ground telescopes because the mirrors are not big enough. Okay. A starseed is more past life, Barbara. They lived a past life on other planets and they come here and for this life for a Pacific mission. A star child is more this life. I heard rumors of a hybridization program to get the DNA back in whack, but so I'm going to say this again, but the Cyrus C incident, all right, the Nibiru, I'm not sure if that's the actual Nibiru, but what happened when they arrived here was they accidentally altered the DNA of some of the native population. And they were like, what do we do? They're like panicking, like back then. This was like 100,000 years ago. What do we do? And they went to our neighbors in space and says, do you know any way to fix this? And there was none. It never really happened before. The first time, okay, Barbara, let me explain. The first time wasn't an accident, was an accident. The second time was on purpose. All right. Okay, that's the theory that Zechariah Sitchin came with. And I respect that theory, but I don't the gold was not to replace their atmosphere, it was their shields. And the people of Nibiru were hybrids themselves. Do you get that? They were of two different planetary systems to begin with. So when they came here, first time was an accident. All right. And there was no way to reverse it. Then when time went by, we got the few refugees from Mars that came here, and then the one from the ones from the asteroid belt came. All right. Then concerns came from some of these people. You know, what do we do about these refugees? Okay. And guess what they did? They altered the DNA on purpose. Because what they did in the asteroid belt was horrible. They blew up their own planet and caused mass extinction events in this solar system. So there was kind of they wanted to prevent that from happening again. They had good intentions, but it kind of backfired. If you really want to think about that. So when you get the Adam and Eve story from the Bible, the Adam and Eve story, it's talking about cloning and changing the DNA. It's not talking about the first humans. Okay. There was a group that are nicknamed, Barbara, the Ant People. All right. This is what one legitimate psychic in the community, paranormal community, calls them. They're called the Ant People. They're Sirach, I think is their planet. And they were the ones that, when Atlantis sunk and the war ended, they collected the refugees and yeah. So Adam and Eve was just it was the only thing that they had. Okay, Eden was underground. It was in caves. So that they were, and then there was the tree of life on top of one of these, caves or whatever. So that's what the story is referring to. It's been lost in translation so many times, it's not even funny, But they didn't have words, big words for like DNA, and so they had a 100%. That is correct. The Hopi Indians say the Ant People brought them underground. And they brought them to Eden. They helped the survivors of the Noah's flood, which was the sinking of Atlantis. Here, so when people say they read their Bibles like it's the absolute truth, you got to read that thing between the lines. Yeah, I'm about to end in a minute or a few minutes. So I've been almost on for 2 hours. Oh, wow. So I just wanted to go live and entertain some people while we had a kind of funny night. Yeah, same thing, Barbara, with werewolves. There are eyewitnesses to so-called humans turning into wolves, and they had no comprehension of it. So they just wrote down what they saw or thought they saw. And then the stories got exaggerated over time. And then you have these Greek stories, these Mesopotamian stories. Then you have the Native Americans who had their own experiences. So how can the Native Americans, the Europeans, all at different ends of the planet, be making all this shit up? And I was thinking, I had to really think about something about the that peace thing with the Atlanteans. After that little war, after they went down, they kind of went on their separate continents, so to speak. I think that was by design, actually, back at the time, to keep the peace. And I think that here's one of my theories, though. All right. So a lot of these people, like the Native Americans, they were on the Americas, right? So you had them in the Americas, and then you had the people of Europe. Okay. Then you had Africa. All right. Then you have parts of Africa that nobody traveled to. All right. And suddenly in the 1500s, all right, people started traveling there. All right. Just listen. I'm not trying to promote anything, but I think they saw Africans and they had this past life, like remembrance. You get what I'm saying? It wasn't a pleasant experience. Could have been asteroid belt disaster, or could have been Mars or something. Because a lot of those things that happened back then, according to some of the books I read, fail in comparison to what Hitler did. These were atrocities. Mass genocide on levels that and caused so much hurt. So maybe when they saw each other for the first time in thousands and thousands and thousands of years, maybe the hatred just came back. This is just a theory of mine. I don't know if I'm right or not, but. And now we have this racism that we just have to get over, you know? So, I hope to have another conversation like this. And thank you all for coming. And good night. And I'll see you another time. All right. Bye-bye.